Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Tuesday, February 5th, Board of Selectmen meeting. 7 o'clock, we have citizens input. 7:05, public hearing, Waxy O'Connor's. 7:20, BL Restaurant Operations, LLC, doing business as Bar Louie Tavern and Grill. 7:35, Recreation Department, Board of Recreation, branding discussion. 7:50, Hackney license applications. 8:05, Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Committee Annual Report, discussion and review of new policy, potential bylaw. 8:20, Billboard Advisory Committee, discussion, proposed amendments to sign bylaw. 8:35, Selectmen's update. 8:40, Town Managers update. 8:45, Assistant Town Managers, and then we have several action items. Chief Baker, you want to lead us in the pledge?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. A little after 7. Anybody here for citizens input? Seeing none. You said Frank was going to be here for the 7:05 hearing? Okay. We'll take a couple of action items until he gets here, as it is a 7:05 hearing.
All right, so the first one, move to approve road race application for Norfolk Advocates for Children's 5K and Fun Run, Saturday, April 27th, 2019, from 9 a.m. till 12 p.m.
Second.
Motion made, second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye.
Move to approve Normandy Farms Campground LLC 6 one-day wine and malt beverage license applications for a food truck festival on April 27th, May 4th, July 10th, August 7th, October 5th, and November 16th, 2019.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All right. Hi, Frank. You want to start that 7:05 hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. Come on up.
I have a public hearing notice.
Yeah.
Read it?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to read the public hearing notice. So notice is hereby given that the Board of Selectmen of the Town of Foxborough, acting as the local licensing authority, will conduct a public hearing on Tuesday, February 5th, 2019, at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall, 40 South Street, Foxborough, Massachusetts, pursuant to Chapter 138, Section 12, Annual All Alcoholic Beverages License, authorized by special legislation, Chapter 201 of the Acts of 2007, and its licensing authority in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 138, Section 77. The purpose of the hearing will be to review and discuss information concerning the business at the premises known as Waxy's Mass LLC, doing business as Waxy O'Connor's, 121 Main Street, Unit 210, Foxborough, Massachusetts. Manager Greg Yale, and to make a determination if cancellation of such license is warranted. All interested parties are invited to attend the hearing.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Wow.
Attorney Frank Spline here, representing Waxy's with Paul McKenna, who's one of the owners of the establishment.
Okay. So, the reason, I mean, you know, it was closed, so we have a liquor license tied up, so do you want to explain what's going on there?
Sure. The last day of operation was December 27th. There were some Board of Health violations that were issued, so they're closed down according to the Board of Health requirements. They reviewed the situation with the accountants, the lawyers, and the owners, reviewing the issues with the Board of Health, financial situation of the establishment, and approximately on January 6th, it was determined that Waxy's as it exists at that time was not going to reopen. They had been having some conversation with some entities that were interested in possibly purchasing the location. So they went forward with more forcefully at that time with looking for a buyer and continue to do that. They have one entity now that is discussing the purchase of it. We've had a number of conversations with them. It's going to move forward Thursday, Porter's being involved. And we just request a typical 6-month amount of time to try to find a buyer for the location with regard to the license and the establishment.
Okay. What's the status of like all the liquor that is in there now? Is it secured or?
Yeah, it's still is.
I didn't hear what you said, I'm sorry.
It's secure, it's in place.
The place is locked and there's nothing going on at the location at this time.
Anybody on the board have anything?
Yeah, there's, we understand there's some outstanding payments that are due to the town. Outstanding water bill, personal property, and building department application.
Okay, we weren't about that. Once it was determined that if it was going to be closed down, that bank accounts were held. So if there are any outstanding checks that may not have been honored, if there are any other outstanding bills, they will be taken care of. So if I get a list of those from the administration tomorrow, we'll take care of them.
Okay, thank you.
Including the bounce check fees?
Sure, cover anything like that, absolutely.
Mr. Chairman, it's my understanding, Council, that with the cessation of business, that alcohol should be removed from the premises. I don't believe it's supposed to be on the premises while the business is closed. Has any action been taken to bring the alcohol back to the distributor or to do something so it's not on the premises?
No.
Okay, that action should be taken immediately. That's not,
We'll take care of that immediately.
okay. And if you could provide us a receipt to the town that that's been done, we appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Just a point of clarification through the chair. When you stated that, I mean, looking at the bills, they're sizable, the outstanding, when you say we'll take care of that tomorrow, that means,
We'll pick up the list of it tomorrow, and then we'll take care of
what does taking care of it mean? Paying it
it. Payment.
within,
I'll have to look at the list. I don't know what the list entails and the amounts. So we want to tell you something at this point.
roughly, if you add it all in,
$6 grand?
$5,000-$6,000?
About $6,000, a little over $6,000, I believe. The number does vary depending upon the water usage, things of that nature, obviously.
It was an unexpected disruption to business, so we didn't, we can set out not to cover certain bills, so I hope there's an understanding of that.
No, I understand, but when you say it's going to be taken care of tomorrow, I don't know what it's going to be taken care of tomorrow means. Is it, I mean, as the owner, if it's $5,000 or $6,000, does taking care of it meaning you'll find out what the bills are and issue a check tomorrow? Or is this going to continue for 5 or 6 months if we hold the permit for another 6 months?
And we'll have to speak to the accounting team tomorrow and see what they can do.
But any transfer of the license would require all those outstanding bills to be paid.
How close do you think you are to talking to another entity? Like,
Again, we have a meeting with an entity that I've had a few meetings with already on Thursday. Landlord's going to be involved in it also because of the transfer of the lease. So at this point, it is moving along. But these negotiations get a little sticky at times, but right now, it's moving in a positive direction. And they've talked with both the landlord and the ownership of Laxey's. So again, very familiar with the requirements that are in the lease and with the location. And they are also open to talking with other entities. So then, of course, we want on that, they do want to move forward with finding one as soon as possible.
okay, so the motion that is the recommended action that's in board docs, is that the latest up-to-date?
It is. So just to provide some
Mike, there's some weird
Some
feedback
weird
going on.
feedback, yeah. Just
Can you
maybe
hear
turn
us?
that down a little bit.
Hey,
No,
Mike,
can someone just let them know that we're getting
Yeah,
this
we're
really
getting
weird
feedback.
feedback anytime someone talks? Sorry, it's just
It's
distracting.
all right.
I
Thank
think
you.
it's been-
So, just to clarify for the board, so what's happened tonight is that there is clear evidence that the building, that the business has ceased to operate on the location. What the ABCC recommends is consistent with what council has represented tonight, that no action be taken to actually cancel the license this evening, but to suspend such action until they afforded the 6-month opportunity to try and find a suitable replacement for the business. That's consistent with case law in front of the ABCC and is consistent with what our town council has advised as well. So I provided you with a motion which is appropriate. If, however, during the 6-month period of time, it's determined that there is not a good faith effort being made by the owners to try and find a secure business, the board can certainly reconvene and take further action at that time to cancel the license if they so deem to be appropriate. What has happened in this instance is that it's the first time that they'll be here before you. I'd recommend that perhaps you look at this item 3 months from now, so as to get an update as to how things are proceeding. And again, that will provide them an adequate period of time to look forward to see if a business can be replaced during that period of time. Obviously, the license is important for the community because it is an opportunity to operate another business, and we certainly don't want the license to be sitting idle during that period of time.
So, Bill, for clarification, if we do go, 6 months from now or whatever, we don't find a buyer, and we cancel that license, does that come back to the town?
It does. The license does come back.
That's
because
a
that-
node-specific license, though, correct?
That is correct. That's a node-specific license. There is another license for that premise, for that development. However, there cannot be 2 licenses issued to the same premises by law. So obviously, it's important that that business be relicensed or reoccupied, rather, as soon as possible so that the business can continue to occur in that location.
Thank you.
So if we vote to suspend, 3 months goes by, negotiations don't work out, does that open up Waxy's opportunity to reopen their existing business?
Well, they could reopen their business. That possibility always exists. And then they obviously would then be back before you to indicate that and let the board, advise the board. And I'm not sure the exact procedure from there for doing that, but it's effectively, the license is still in effect and until such time that the board determines that the license should be effectively canceled. But that's the reason why the ABCC typically allows that 6-month period. Sometimes it may be a reorganization of the business. They could be in a financial situation where somebody else comes in and re-sponsors the business and allows them the ability to reopen their doors. So that possibility always exists. That's the reason why it's done that way.
I was gonna say, to circle back on your point about removing the alcohol, is there any time frame that we need to discuss?
It should be removed. It should be removed, I would say, within a week, because that should be removed the day the business ceases, actually. So that's something that should occur
Can we
immediately.
get it done by the end of this week?
I believe we need a transport license from the ABCC to do that. So as soon as we can get that, we'll get it done. It should be pretty soon.
As long as the action is taken this week to try and acquire that, I would think that would be reasonable.
Jim?
I know 2 different licenses, but I know the Board of Health was kind of the precipitous of this. Waxy's was invited to the Board of Health. Is that issue closed and addressed, and did you guys show up for that, or is that still hanging there on the Board of Health?
Nobody showed up to that hearing.
Okay.
Yes, we were discussing with the partners and the corporate team what the strategy was going to be long-term. I guess at the time, the Board of Health had already suspended the license, so the business wasn't going to be reopening, at that time or in the immediate future,
Yep.
be it Waxy's or some other brand. So nobody attended that meeting from our side.
See, when there's an issue, when a board invites you to the meeting by written invitation and you don't show up and there's no follow-up, and I did see the public social media broadcast that you did, kind of blaming the town for the issues. There's money owed to the town, the liquor is still in there, and you're asking us for 6 more months. Maybe 30 days, but I haven't seen a good faith effort with the Board of Health to address anything or even showing up. In that public statement that you made, that it was,
We actually passed the most recent Board of Health inspection of flying colours in October, which is literally 3 months ago. We spent,
okay. I don't want to run it, but I see it, that we have a Board of Health member shaking his head no, so it's important to me that things are in order. And I don't know if there's some input that the Board of Health can give. I know there's 2 separate licenses, but you're asking for a lot. And I remember when you guys opened, and we've been through a lot to get to this point, the violations, and I just can't imagine going 6 months and saying good luck and come back.
Any entity that opens up there,
Excuse me?
any entity that opens up there, whether it's SWAC is reopening or another entity, is going to have to pass the Board of Health inspections. And with their violations, they're going to, I'm sure, we'll look into what those issues.
No, I understand, but I feel more comfortable with the town holding the license than a business holding the license for 6 more months with the track record. So if the recommendation is us not to pull it back, what's the difference if we pull it back and the new applicant, since there's one there already for application, this would be the second, that the town holds that, which there's a value to it in a history, and then if and when a new tenant comes, they apply to us, clean slate, and not have Waxies involved in it.
So- Yeah, go ahead, so I can try and address that. So it's actually, it's a fair question. So what happens is that the Board of Health, I'm sorry, the ABCC actually determines, and it's been done through case law, and this is actually recommended to me by our town council, that they will afford every business that actually is determined to be ceasing of operation, which is clearly evidence tonight. They afford them the opportunity for a 6-month period with the clock effectively starting tonight. That because you can't really start a clock until it's a formal public hearing before the board. That allows them the opportunity to actually take action to move forward, to try and either rectify whatever situation they have, or to find a new business to take over the premises. That's their process, because they recognize that from time to time, businesses can, run into difficulties, and they afford the business, regardless of what's happened prior to that, they still afford them that opportunity for a 6-month window. So this is recommended to us by town council based upon ABCC case law.
Thank you.
Yeah, so even if we voted to just pull it tonight, they would basically have 6 months to
Right.
try to work something out.
So what conceivably could happen, if the board voted to take back the license tonight, Waxy O'Connors could actually file an appeal, and what would effectively happen is ABCC would then issue a 6-month stay of execution until that clock is run. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, we may as well get that clock started tonight versus any appeal that might take weeks. And the 6-month is going to be granted anyway.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
Can we put a stipulation on the 5,000 or 6,000 that's owed is paid to the town within the next 30 days and extend this for 30 days, see how they do?
Yeah.
Question
Why not? I
to the
mean,
board.
I definitely, the money's owed to the town regardless of anything, so.
Fair point.
I'm fine with that.
I think the motion that you have provides you the leverage to actually review it from time to time during this next 6-month period, Jim. So as far as I think you're well within that motion to do that, but I think the specificity about the payment is a good point to make.
Yeah, and then we'll review it again in 30 days, or the next meeting.
Yeah,
after
it
30
says
days.
reasonable periods within the timeframe.
Mhm.
That's what we're proposing.
But on the motion that you make, any back payment due to the town within 30 days from today.
And there would be a second one having to do with the liquor, getting proof that the liquor is out of the building too.
Mhm.
So there'd be two
right.
caveats.
You ready?
Well, it's a public hearing. Do we have anyone?
Oh, yeah, thank you. This is a public hearing. Anybody from the audience wish to say anything? Seeing none, make a motion.
Yeah, you've got.
Oh, sorry, Eric, I didn't see your hand up. If you want to come up to the microphone?
We're still getting this feedback.
I know,
like,
it's just-
horribly.
it's- I know, it's-
Mike. Okay.
Hi, Eric Arvdon, Board of Health. Board of Health, 2 weeks ago, suspended the food service restaurant license for Waxy O'Connor's. No one showed up. We have it suspended for 2019, their license. Stipulation that before they may reopen, if they choose to, there's a laundry list of things, and really, it was not flying colors. Okay, it was a reinspection, and what precipitated was not our doing. We weren't lenient, we were not strict, but we applied the minimum standards, which they failed. So in order for them to open again, they're going to need to come up to at least the minimum standards for our food inspection. So, and we haven't heard anything. We've heard through the grapevine. So, not even a courtesy for us to let us know that, yes, we're opening, no, we're not. We did get 2 notices. One said, we'll let you know, we'll contact you in due course. I don't know what that means. And the second thing was, at 4:30, after we had closed, we got an email that said, we're not showing up to your meeting tonight. Oh, because we shut them down, they're not showing up to a meeting. So, that's all I can offer you.
The first email was sent because I was abroad. It was the day after Christmas, I believe, or shortly thereafter. The second email was sent because I wasn't available to attend that hearing that night.
And when, in that meeting, when you sent that email, a couple weeks ago, we haven't heard anything since then. But again, I'm telling them, I don't know what's happening with you. You haven't told me, so I don't know. But I'm telling them, our Board of Selectmen, that you will not open unless you meet the minimum standards, which is on you. But again, you haven't told me that you're not open. I'm here to find out what's going on here. And I'm just meeting with my Board of Selectmen just to let them know that, board to board, I'm as baffled as maybe everybody else is, so.
When a business is closed unexpectedly, sometimes it takes time to work out what's going to happen for the next step. So it's taken us it's only been over 4 weeks, so it's taken us these 4 weeks to work out the different steps as to what the process is. Because again, we didn't expect to be shut down on December 27th, so you don't automatically come up with an answer within the next 72 hours or necessarily the next week or two. So we've got partners and a corporate team that have influence in what we do in terms of, the capital infusion to reopen the business was in the 6 figures. Certain people didn't want to put in that money. So there's more to it than just reopening the doors.
You should be telling them, not me. I haven't heard anything. Again, I'm just providing information to my board.
Thanks.
Any other questions for me?
No, but hearing you passed in October with flying colors, and then it would have taken 6 figures to get it up to minimum standards.
No, I meant in terms of lost revenue and the reputational damage that comes with the Board of Health shutdown. We felt that the upfront cost of losing, it could be a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, which is the same for any restaurant.
I
until
kind of
it's-
take offense to reputational damage by the Board of Health if,
No.
you can't meet the minimum cleanliness standards, so.
Well, that was part of the reason not to keep the business going.
Okay. Right. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Anybody else from the audience? Seeing none, make a motion to close the public hearing?
All right, move to close the public hearing?
Second.
Motion made second, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of closing?
All right, so I have a rather lengthy motion to read. There's sufficient credible evidence that there has been a cessation of business at the licensed premises known as Waxy O'Connor's. While the board could act to cancel the license based on the evidence presented, the board will suspend such action for up to 6 months to afford the licensee the ability to find a suitable replacement for the business. The board will review the license at a reasonable periods within the 6-month period to determine if a good faith effort is being made to replace the business. If during this period the board is not satisfied that a good faith effort is being made by the licensee, the board may reconsider their position and proceed with a hearing to cancel the license. In addition, the back payments that are due to the town will be made within 30 days, and the removal of liquor from the premises will happen as quickly as possible, with actions being started as early as this week, at least to get the license to transport the liquor out of the premises.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right, a little after 7:20, BL Restaurant Operations LLC, doing business as Bar Louie Tavern and Grill. Come on up.
How are we doing?
Good, you can just state your name for the record.
William Cochran.
William?
Yes.
You can have a seat. What are we doing tonight, William?
We're changing our officers. I'm just kind of here to answer any questions you have.
Just the corporate offices?
Yes.
And anybody on the board have any questions?
I went through the application, everything seemed in order.
It's a tough microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. Doc, Jim,
No,
any questions?
no,
Pretty
I agree
standard.
with Dave, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Move to approve BL Restaurant Operations LLC, doing business as Bar Louie Tavern and Grill, application for change of officers.
Second.
Motion made, seconded, any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
You got off easy.
That's the way.
Yep.
All right, 7:35, had agenda already. Recreation Department, Board of Recreation branding discussion. Come on up, team. All right.
Introduction. Thank you for having us. This is your recreation team.
The reason this has happened is that's right underneath the speakers.
Renee's not speaking.
It's not that enough.
Yeah, me too. Thank you. We're here tonight to discuss the Recreation Department's choice and decision to brand our department. We're doing this also with the backing and the support of the Recreation Board. 4 members, with whom I'd like to thank for being here as well. I don't know how familiar you are with branding a department. We've done a lot of research. And the branding is the department's way of letting the public know that recreation has a greater purpose than just being the provider of programs. We chose to brand recreation because of the way in which we want to be perceived. We are so much more than just programs. We are your fields, your playgrounds, your recreation destination, all in Foxborough's big backyard. Professionalism is a great part of the branding process because people are likely to do business with people are likely to take their business to a department, company, whomever that has a polished and professional portrayal. Being properly branded gives industry experts and makes the public and our services and the way we handle business on a higher, much more looked at level. Branding is important because it gets business recognition and becomes known to the community. Clearly, we're recognized by the community and embraced and do very well, but we want more. which, I'll just throw this in there, as a quote from Steve Martin that says, "Be so good that they don't ignore you," which I thought was maybe it's just for me, but I thought it was a great, is Steve Martin dead?
No.
Oh, okay. The great Steve Martin. In our
We all die, right?
in our brand, we've incorporated a symbol of what we perceive to be the big backyard, and that was our logo as well, your big backyard, because it's everybody's community, it's everybody's right, privilege, and expectation to use our fields, our playgrounds, any open space that belongs to the town and is run, maintained, or just troubleshot by recreation. It helps generate referrals, because if we're not branding ourselves, you can be darn sure someone else is. So we thought we'd get ahead of that and brand ourselves. People tend to do business with departments that they're familiar with. So the idea that we've learned and researched is you do a rollout for branding, and this is where we're starting, is here tonight with the Board of Selectmen, the town manager, the assistant town manager, and then tomorrow we will hit all of social media, Twitter, our app, Facebook, Constant Contact. We'll be changing our letterhead. The letterhead will stay the same, but we'll be adding our motto and our picture down the bottom. We'll be changing our signatures on our emails. So it's a rollout that starts here and then doesn't stop until, it doesn't stop. It just stays. You don't change your logo, you don't change your saying. You just stay consistent with that, and you stand behind the business that you're offering, which, like I said, is not just recreational activities, but it's the whole entire town and the open land that's theirs as well, which is what we wanted to really hammer home, is that idea of Foxborough is your big backyard. You don't need to go to another park, you don't need to go to another facility, you don't need to go to other entities that may be equal to a recreation department. You can stay in Foxborough and find those same things. We're very proud of that. We're proud of the work that is done on all of these properties by both the Recreation Department and the DPW. And we want to just encompass, our department's personality, its culture, its level of professionalism, and our visual image. It is the glue that holds an agency's professional and entire image, and it builds in our marketing effort together. I think we have a great marketing machine with Heather and with Renee and Heidi, and we don't anticipate stopping. We are doing very, very well, and you can't go backwards. You can only go forward. So coming up with ideas like branding and new programs and helping with the playgrounds and helping with the fields is what it's all about for us. And so with that in mind, we decided to brand the department. So we're all wearing our new shirts, and the board is wearing their new shirts, so we thought it only fair that you all get new shirts.
Is it under $50?
Huh?
Is it under $50?
Looks like it's a
Yeah.
regular t-shirt.
Are there any other recreation departments that have ever
Yes,
done
many
this?
recreation departments brand themselves. We also found out that tourism does it, and there's even some cities that do it that are bigger, that like to brand, maybe there's a special section of Quincy. let's say.
I follow Walpole on Facebook, and I enjoyed this agenda item. Yeah, I actually happened to notice, that they are branded too,
Right,
so.
there's a lot that are. Can't. So in our research took us a year. This was actually made last year, and it's a backpack that the council has used. So we've been working on this since before last summer. And we finally ended up before you to start the rollout, which will begin tomorrow, like I said. Does anyone have any questions?
That was just mine, like if this is something that other recreation departments do.
Yeah,
That's
they
good.
do.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I think it's a great idea. Why now? Why not 2 years ago? Or it's something that it's just becoming more mainstream, or?
Actually, we didn't do it because it was done by other departments. I had actually attended a conference where it was brought up. I brought it back to the team, and they really embraced it as well as the board, and we just moved forward with it. So it wasn't even because we knew other towns did it. That came later in our research.
Thank you.
I find it fascinating. I'm just, I just,
Doc?
no, I think it's great. I just,
Tell me forever. Is
just,
it surprising?
no, not at all. You know, to brand a town department, it's great.
And one of the things that I read was, it's not a vertical branding, it's a horizontal branding that you hope all departments, agencies, you know, like they said, tourism, that if we're horizontal in this branding, it could catch on, but also by being horizontal, we're encompassing still every department to work with us and support us, and we support them in turn. There's a lot of collaboration that goes on anyway, so this will just be a part of that as well.
Even from being visibly recognized, you guys are with a lot of kids, and sometimes it can be hard to find who's the right person. Obviously, a lot of us know who Heidi and Renee are, but, if you're in your brand, it'll be easier to identify for kids and
the
grown-ups.
brand is gonna go further. It's, with the kids at camp, at the summer program, it will say that our big backyard, but on the back of it, it's gonna say, this is where we play. The counselor's shirts are gonna say, this is where we work. We were gonna actually get you, this is where we work on the back of yours, but we couldn't afford it.
Which brings up my question. And I think I know the answer. So budget-wise, I know branding, the shirts and the bags, but you probably want to put signage up. You're still under the revolving
Yes.
fund, so
Yes.
all of this stuff is not
Yes.
taxpayer money, it's money from your programs generated?
From the revolving fund,
That's what I
yes.
thought, okay, which is
So
nice,
it's not
which is
really
nice to
buy
see.
T-shirts anyway for every program in town. That's not gonna be a big financial burden. Things we'd like to get is the pop-up tents, and if we put Foxborough Recreation in your big backyard, and then someone borrows that tent, it's beautiful because we're still there even though we're not there. So it's little things like that that you have to kind of sneak in.
And if they don't return it, it's yours.
We know it's ours.
And with the branding.
Gotta give 'em back.
With the branding project going on with the center now, there'll be different arrows pointing to different areas, so we should keep in mind the cross-branding, whether it's the public safety building or the recreation department, kind of how we tie that all together, so I'll take that back.
And one observation and one comment. So I know, I'm looking at the board that you have here and the other ones, and you have probably 80 years of grow-up on the board experience, especially with the guy in the middle who's kind of old. It's just nice to see you've got a strong board, and you keep coming back year after year, and I've seen your program go from this to this. Capital programs that you get, I know it was in the paper that you're doing a big
Yes, we do have one.
upgrade of playground to get handicapped accessibility.
Yes.
Is that going okay, or is that?
It's going okay on our end. We worked with 2 suppliers, we're working with 2 more this week to have a plan to present to CIP. And that will be the determining factor on how far we can go with the rebuild of the playground, which isn't, like I said earlier, at some point, it's not a want, it's an absolute need.
Yeah.
That's a discussion with CIP.
Oh, it's going through the CIP
Yes.
process, okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Very good, all right, thank you. No offense, Doug, Seuss.
I'm just happy Doug's wearing a Patriot hat.
I was gonna say the same thing.
Did you lose a bet?
Anybody else on the board have any questions?
No, thank you for the shirt.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. It's a
Congrats, good luck.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
Can we unplug one of those? It's driving me.
Yeah, I think,
It's like having a gnat in my ear. I can't even,
I just
like,
think
focus.
that the internal volume's too high.
Is that what it is? Is it that last one?
I think the microphones are okay.
Does it always broadcast in the lobby too?
Yes, it does. Yeah.
Maybe it's my ADD that I get like.
Yeah, no, that is, it's aggravating. All right, our next one, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. We have a 750 hacking license application for Janelle Valjean.
Oh, he's here.
You want to come up to the table? So this is a new application, right? You can have a seat at the table there. Want to just tell the citizens at home your name and where you live, and then explain why you're here.
Okay. My name is General Wilkin. I'm living in Brockton, Mass. 116, Tory Avenue, 02301.
Okay. And you're applying for a Hackney license for
Yeah.
Foxborough?
Yes.
Okay. You have the application. Does anybody on the board have any questions on the application?
I just had, oh, never mind. Nope.
No,
Okay.
look good.
Yeah, everything's, looks good. David, Jim? Yeah.
This, independent of the specific one, but didn't we go over the Hackney licenses, Bill, a few years ago? And then we put a freeze on new Hackney licenses because of, for whatever reason? Does that ring a bell?
Vaguely.
I think the board made a
Was there a
decision.
lot of them at the time? I'm not so sure. Well, we haven't acted, you have not, I knew you haven't acted on one in a while. It's been 2 or 3 years.
I think the reason we haven't acted on it, because the board at the time had an issue, I think it was because of the Patriots games, and there was a big influx of taxis along the side streets and all that, so there was a discussion to not renew it, and I thought there was a formal vote on it. Anyone
I don't
remember that?
Remember that, I know there was one that we decided didn't need to be at our level, it needed to be at the police chief level.
Well, that was a hawking
That was a hawk.
license.
Yeah.
As long as
hawking
the
license.
peddlers, yeah. I vaguely remember something about that, Jim, but I don't know if you actually, I think there was a concern, there was a lot of them at the time, but there hasn't been any activity in this area in quite some time.
And this, I mean, if you're reading the application, this is for an existing Foxborough company that you're just gonna be a driver for, right?
Yeah, it's not an independent.
It's not an
Oh, it's not a new
independent.
one?
No,
No,
he
it's the one
works
on
for,
Leonard Street.
So it's, he's
So
gonna be
the-
driving for Veterans
the
Taxi.
veteran.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, because I see the new and the renewal on the
Yeah.
top, it's not checked. Okay, so it's a company that has
It's
an existing license,
an
okay, all right.
existing license hiring a new driver.
Okay, pardon me, I read it wrong.
I think to Jim's point, though, we should probably research that, make sure that, you know, if it comes up again.
Yeah, it's been a long time
But
since we.
I think we were more concerned about the independent Hackney licenses and everybody just, you know, getting a license and going up to the stadium. So,
Yeah, we'll check into that.
Anybody else have any questions? Okay. Maybe you wanna make a motion?
Sure, move to approve Hackney license, oh, sorry, I'm on the other one. Whoops, we have two tonight. Move to approve Hackney license application for Janelle Viljean of Veterans Taxi to expire February 5th, 2021.
Second.
Motion made.
That's right, 2021, it was 2 years.
I don't know what is the, I mean, are they a 2-year license?
Yeah, I guess the other one goes to 2021 too, sorry.
Okay.
Okay, sorry.
A motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good luck.
Is all set?
All set?
Thank you.
You don't have shirts for us, do you?
Especially that color.
So we're definitely ahead of schedule. Do you want to, do we want to wait for more of your committee to be here? This is it?
Oh, Amy, yeah, we do have to wait.
All right, so we'll wait a minute. We still have some other stuff to do. We can go back to
Back to
action
action items.
items.
All right, so the next one, move to approve Orpheum Theater 10 one-day wine and malt beverage liquor license applications for February 15th, February 22nd, February 23rd, March 3rd, March 22nd, March 23rd, March 30th, April 13th, April 20th, and April 26th, 2019.
Second for discussion.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
This is for the Orpheum, correct?
Yeah, yep, we're on the.
If there's going to be discussion, I recuse myself because I'm on the board.
Okay.
So is there going to be a discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll recuse myself.
I guess more than anything, I'm confused why this is back on for us to consider. I thought they had a license application and they couldn't do one-day licenses while they,
So I'll give you an update on that situation. They did apply initially, but then pulled back the license for license requests, so for the annual all wine and malt license request. So right now, they have, since there is not a license before the board for consideration, they're applying for multiple licenses because they still are contemplating going forward with a license. But during the period of which the time that the license is being considered, the board, they can actually apply for one-day licenses to continue on with their business. So that is, it is appropriate for them to do what they're doing in that regard. And then once this action is taken, the board could then, once they proceed with their annual license, they will, they can be considered, and it doesn't affect these one-day licenses. You can't apply for a one-day license if the application is under consideration, which it is not at this time.
So it looks like tomorrow they would come in and apply for the full liquor license.
They could, conceivably they could.
And then they couldn't apply for any more one day, that's why this is
That's
all there
correct.
until April?
That's correct.
can we ask the board member a question?
Sure.
Why was the application pulled, Jim?
Yeah, so, and for the record, Jim DeVellis, on the board of, director of the nonprofit. So, the original application that was put in there, and the town manager is correct, the one-day liquor licenses can't be applied for when there's a pending license. We are completely booked up this year, going into next year. We have hired a manager for the license. So I think, if you remember the last meeting, it was on there, it got pulled back, and there was an attempt to change the manager on the license, but it had already been advertised as such in the paper, so we had to actually have it pulled out. It would have been submitted today, but the problem is, if it's in there and going through the process, you can't apply for one-day liquor licenses. And we've already have, all those dates are already booked, so we would have had a, not cancel it, but it would have been a detriment to the bookings that we already had. So the process is, if we can get the one-day liquor license for those events that are already scheduled, and then as soon as, could be tomorrow, the full application with the new manager that we hired would be on that application.
And how long does that process usually take? Again, I know,
Has to be.
It has to be a public hearing on it,
Yeah,
so it has to be advertised for 2 weeks.
okay.
So,
So once the application's in, it goes through the Board of Selectmen process, then concurrently it would go with the ABCC once it gets passed here.
So the person whose name is on this, they are in-house there at all these events, this person is,
Yeah, there's the person that we hired was Teresa Devlin. She was supposed to be here tonight, and she was gonna come after 8. She's got a conflict, so that's why I was kind of seeing what the question was.
but she's already in place,
She's
hired.
in place, her name's on the application, the tip certification, and all that information's in there. And I apologize for the steps going back and forth. I know it's been, somebody said at one point, no more one-day liquor licenses, and I think, so I'll just cut that off in the past. It was said, but it was unfortunate, but we're in this situation now.
Anybody else have any further questions?
Thank you.
All right, motion was made.
Yep.
Seconded, we had discussion. All those in favor? Against?
Only because I said no more liquor licenses. And I was a little concerned that the application was pulled at the last minute. I understand why. But I look forward to getting the new application and getting another license. This will make 43 one-day licenses since the Orpheum, since the new ownership took over the Orpheum in September 2017. That's a lot. Just concerned about precedent, and we did it because it was the Orpheum, but we're kind of, pigeonholed now if another entity comes and wants one-day license after one-day license, so.
And just to acknowledge that, I completely am in agreement, and I'm not arguing at all. It's been very successful over the spending. We had the 1-year anniversary. We thought
easily we would have the full license by now. It took a little while for the closing to get the funding, it's operational, and now we have the management change. So if we were able to switch managers at the last meeting, we would not have submitted these.
I understand,
But I appreciate that.
but I also said, you know.
Well, hey, I'm not disagreeing.
All right, so 3 for, 1 against, and 1 abstaining. All right.
All right, next one. Want me to keep going?
Yep.
Finish out the rest?
Yeah.
All right, move to accept a gift donation of $35 to the Council on Aging Human Services from Anonymous for the Lockbox Program.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Move to accept a gift donation of $6,000 to the Council on Aging Human Services from the Friends of Foxborough Seniors for new furniture in the center lobby.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Move to accept a gift donation of $100 to Veteran Services from Charles and Jean Albert for the general fund to help a person in need.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Move to approve tuition reimbursement of $1,170 for Officer Charles Gallagher.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Move to appoint Kurt Pollister and Adam Burns to the Veteran Services Advisory Committee as members for terms expiring May 1st, 2019.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion?
Just, I see Officer Burns here in the audience, so thank you for your service. I know you're back, recently deployed, so.
Thank you. My colleague, I think, didn't get the word from me. Okay, so yeah, I'm sorry, Kirk was supposed to be here too, but apparently we're running late.
We're running early.
Okay. Running early.
Thanks.
So is this just to fill an appointment for 3 months?
There was
Yeah, there's
probably
a
2
note in here.
vacancies, I think.
Okay.
Ally, is that what it was? 2 vacancies on your committee?
Yeah, there's a note that says everyone will be up for reappointment on May 1st for a 1-year term.
Okay, so motion made, seconded. There's discussion. All those in favor?
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, and then another Hackney license. So move to approve Hackney license renewal for Maurice Baccarci to expire 2/21/21.
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor? All right. You have everybody? Okay, all right. Why don't we, 8:05, the Child Sexual Abuse Awareness Committee Annual Report. You guys want to come up to the table?
You can grab another chair, just from the front row. You need to.
Good evening, everybody.
Yes, it is.
Can't beat the weather, right?
That's great. Almost didn't want to come in.
You just need to call us to order, move that we go in session for the child safety.
Yes,
All in favor?
all in favor?
Thanks.
Opposed? No?
Want to just let everybody at home know who you all are?
So we are the Foxborough Child Sexual Awareness, Abuse Awareness Committee. I'm Linda Walsh.
Nancy Stockwell.
Amy Burnos.
Bob Courier.
Bill Buckley.
There's 2 members that were unable to be here. That's Jeff Downs and Bob Lucas.
Okay. So this is your annual report to the board, just to kind of give us an update of.
Yeah, we're one of the committees that would like to come up and give you a heads up of what we've been doing all year, not just go into the report. So, Bob, do you want to give us some highlights of our year?
I would love to. Reading out the report, we'll skip the purpose and all that type of stuff. We'll go to the goals. And that's inform private entities in town about the town's child protection initiative and encourage them to participate.
Provide a code of conduct for individuals and youth organizations using town property. Educate individuals and organizations in the town of Foxborough, Doctors Delight, a child sexual abuse awareness program. Provide a protocol for report incidents of suspected or alleged child sexual abuse. Influence statewide legislation around child sexual abuse, mandated reporting, and report to people yearly. I'll just go over some of the accomplishments. The home rule petition, which turned into House Bill 4852. As I said, this is not a broken record, but an example of the tremendous amount of patience it takes to get even the simplest, most straightforward piece of legislation enacted. Last year, we did not have a lot moving it too much. We presented to the State House. We presented, and Jim DeVillage, Tony Calcida of the YMCA, and Lieutenant Richard Newman of the police testified before the Joint Committee for Children and Families. Were well received and commended for efforts. But again, it got stuck in the election season and everything else, so we're gonna start again this year, and there should be a bill numbered shortly, and then we can go to work on working through. Hopefully, the third time will be the charm, and we shall see. We finally have a town employee policy. The Board of Selectmen voted this as a policy, and it states that any employee paid or volunteer within the first 90 days of their employment must complete the Doctors of Life training. Furthermore, all employees must take any refresher trainings as they become available. This was another huge win by our committee, as it has taken years of diligence to finally get this enacted. And now it's part of the fabric of being a town of Foxborough employee. To give us more trainers, to give the training, we had a trainer come out from Nashville and do a day-long training for 9 trainees. They included 3 educators from the schools, community information specialists from the town manager's office, or Amanda, a representative from the town sports groups, the director from the learning experience, the Foxborough Child Care Facility, a resident from Winthrop, who also has shared with our successes, was here to learn more. The last 2 attendees who participated served as a testament to the many efforts put forth by our committee to spread awareness and how much is sorely needed. At this training, the trainer from Nashville shared that Foxborough's successes are often pointed out to others, not just on a national level, but on an international level as well. Spoken volumes of the training levels we have accomplished that are unmatched by any municipal program worldwide. It's not that hard, so we ask, why does everybody have to be convinced to buy into the program? We finally figured the magic formula to become part of the state-mandated training for the many daycares in our community. Amy LaBarge, Director of the Learning Experience, stepped up and became trained as a Doctors Delight trainer. From her vantage, she can talk directly to her peers to encourage their participation in our training. Unlike the mailings that tend to get lost, Amy has made it her mission to speak one-on-one with the other daycare facilities. She's had phenomenal success in line-up trainings to commence shortly. We've continued with our thrice-a-year youth sport trainings. Now we have to retrain them with the refresher courses. We're meeting with all the sports groups on this Thursday, and hopefully we'll have a program to retrain them all. This is going to be, we've trained close to 2,500 people in the Doctors Delight training. This is going to be a big retraining effort, and hopefully we can set it up so it gets done in orderly fashion. Already the school department's bought into it. I believe all your people will be trained, or?
We've trained in the refresher training. The original training for all employees was 5 years ago, the 2.5-hour training. And then we have that training for anyone new that comes on board every year. But for those that have had the training a number of years ago, we've then had the refresher training with everyone going through that, all staff.
And I believe Amanda and Deb from Recreation are setting up something for all the town employees. They're going through all the files and figuring out who needs what. So that's well on the way. And the public safety, I haven't talked to Rob recently, but he was working on something with the police side to have retraining with all them. So it's, what's great is that we're not having to hold guns to people's heads. They're volunteering to do this stuff. It becomes part of your life. It's been a long time coming, but it's, like I say, just part of being an employee in Foxborough. So, let's see. Focus areas. Continue to monitor and support Representative Jay Barrow's Bill 4852, an act to authorize Commonwealth of Massachusetts to establish additional mandated reporters for the purpose of protection and care of children. Number 2, continue to smooth out the delivery of successive practice delight and refresher trainings. Number 3, continue the support of the very promising child care program and expand trainings. 4, continue to outreach and attract the interest of the several commercial youth sports franchises in town to participate in our mission. That's like the hockey place, the basketball place, and places that we haven't been able to focus on. Work with Patriot Place to create awareness and respond to their inquiries for trainings. Rob Lucas has been working with a couple of groups up there where they're setting trainings for employees, that type of thing. And they're very welcoming of the inquiries. And help to develop a code of conduct for individuals and youth organizations using town property. That's something that we've talked about, and something we need to do, because several support groups have approached us because they know they don't have a code of conduct. And so that's something we have to work with on. Committee thanks Deborah Spinelli for all her time and energy spent on the committee since its inception. Debbie was thanked at a July meeting, and we welcomed Amy Curtis as a replacement. The only thing I miss is Debbie used to correct all my spellings and periods, and oh my God.
She absolutely did.
That's, Amy's supposed to take over those responsibilities, right?
She is, and Nancy's. So the daunting. Keep our successes intact. Keep the interest high and not to bite off more than we can chew. Foxborough has a very dedicated committee that meets monthly, which would hold up to any other group and challenge them to produce the same sustained level that this group has mustered to protect Foxborough's most precious assets, our children. We'll welcome anybody interested to a less than formal meetings. Thanks to all that have helped this year. We look forward to more ones to come. Submitted by us.
Thank you. Anybody on the board have any questions on this report?
Yeah, I do. With the exception of Bill 4852 and the fact that you trained approximately 2,500 people, which is astounding, are you where you hope to be at this point when you first started out? Is it taking the path that you wanted it to be?
To be honest with you, I'll tell you a story, just a little one. When we first started out, we had a meeting with Mark Sullivan, Jim, Bill, Bob Cutler, myself, Beta Joy, and Belinda. Wondered how, without any parent backing from the board, the safety departments, we could salvage, plan, and move forward and spread the awareness. With help from Jim, we crafted a bylaw to create a committee that we have today. So we survived this advisory committee and handed out info sheets to those attending town meeting, as well as answer questions posed to us from the floor. Still amazes me how people sought to derail us rather than offer constructive help. We're out to protect everybody's kids. And without this early determination, Linda's battle cry, shame will never happen again, we will not be here, we will not be where we are today. Now, the first part of the journey was arduous. I mean, it was like, we were talking, nobody's catching on to what we're talking about. We were pushing and, so the first part took a long time. Now we're seeing success, we're seeing departments taking this part of what they do, which is great to see. The state legislature, that's a challenge, but we will get there. I'm not sure what kind of answer that was.
I don't know either. So, I mean, are you comfortable where you're at this point, with the exception of 4852? I mean, we're all frustrated
Yeah, I
by
mean,
that.
it's just, you deal with it every day with these
Yeah.
guys and that, so. I think we are comfortable, I think it's, it's baby steps, and I think that because we, are part of, a committee that's here to stay, that's not gonna go anywhere, I think that just the continuance of it and the group that meets once a month and people bring their suggestions to us or whatever, I think it is successful. It's only gonna grow, it's only gonna, get more and more as we get on new coaches, they get trained, so, I think that, it's not like this group is just charged to get that going and then go bye-bye. This will be here long after us.
It's not for us for a while.
I think that's good because we do keep out in the eye and
No, the entire group, the members that aren't members anymore, the members that were there early on in this group, your determination should definitely be commended. I've gone through the training, and I say this every time, once a year when you guys are here. It changed the way, being a coach, it changed the way I interact with the athletes, with the parents, and it's a much more awareness of your surroundings, of what's going on at the ball fields. It's, and I think I say this every year too, every parent should take the training.
Yep, grandparent,
Yep.
babysitter, whatever,
Yep. So,
It's free too.
it's even better.
I have a question on, seeing that you brought up free, a couple of questions. The budget of $2,500, it's been the same for 5 years.
Fine.
It does work, even if you now are going to go outside of town-type stuff like Patriots Place and, private businesses, that 2,500 still works?
Yeah, we also have another pocket of a donation that was made to us. So we have decided that we'd spend 500 of that going forward. So we have enough money. The books and everything for the town side, that gets taken care of out of their departments. So we don't pay for those. It's just mostly the sports. And, the refresher course isn't as expensive as the regular one.
No,
Basically,
there's no
all the
materials.
materials.
Yeah, I mean.
For the material and the trainer.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing, like I was thinking, is if you're going outside now to business groups like everybody at Patriot Place, the individual stores, restaurants, whatever, these other sports place, just wanted to make sure that you guys were covered in the whole.
No saying they can't buy the book.
Right, they may
If-
wanna
if they
donate
were
or
offered.
whatever too, so.
I think we're all right.
I got to say, if I can add, the 5 people that are here, plus the 2 that aren't, in the past people from the 5 years ago, and I see Chief O'Leary, past Chief O'Leary, was one of the founding volunteers. On a $2,500 budget, some committees and groups could take something from your playbook. I've seen you guys donate money, printing materials. If we gave you a $5,000 budget, I don't think it would make a big difference. You guys are very resourceful. To train thousands of people on $2,500, get donations, and keep it going, you guys all have the same passion and the same drive. And what's nice is when people leave, like Deb Spinelli, I remember saying, well, what are we gonna do? And then it's replaced by equal or, resourceful people. When the committee was set up, there was each member is from a different sector, public safety, recreation, institutional, religious. I think we tried to cover the town. And I guess my question is there a sector that over the 5 years you guys are missing that you could get somebody else to focus on something that you didn't see 5 years ago? Like a group that is not really reached out to that could be?
Right, well, it would be the businesses, like, the hockey rink, the baseball, gig down there, the basketball.
Yeah, but as far as having a place at the board, I
Right,
don't
so,
think that's,
Is there an expertise that you're missing, I should say?
no, we
Yeah.
haven't really.
Yeah. Because I know a lot has changed. When you first started, it was, you were focused on how we're gonna set up, how we're gonna reach out. And now I know the coaches are saying, oh, is it that time of year again? They already know about this, and Foxborough is a better place for it. But just to think about, is there a sector that we missed? And business might be a good one,
right.
to reach out to the
If you get
businesses.
businessmen that would be, to offer their time as a volunteer. But we haven't discussed it as a group.
Okay.
How
Thank
about,
you.
like Scouts, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, I don't,
So we've been trying to get them in. I know that the Boy Scouts have huge regulations and training that they go by. But we keep missing them to come into our.
Yeah, that's one of the few places we
another-
have to focus on this year.
That's another goal.
yeah, because some of them do meet on town property, and I think
Right.
that's, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy Scouts, like she says, has a robust program,
Uh,
we just don't know what it is. It's similar to
Yeah.
one or two of the churches where they came in and showed us what they had, said, you have a great program, go with it,
mhm.
forget about us. If they come in with a great program, give them our blessing and they move on. We're not trying to rewrite the Boy Scout or Girl Scout book or Brownie or whatever they have. And we just want to have them be included.
We just want to make sure that they.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're on a radar.
I know Mike could probably attest to it, but we were both scout leaders, and see some other people in the audience whose kids were in scouts. We did have a good youth protection training. Everybody had to take it. We had to have it once a year with the kids, but, they should be open arms with you guys and
Right.
being, what can I do to help?
Right.
We'll get them.
Anybody have other questions?
Can I make a comment?
Sure.
This afternoon I played hooky, and I took my granddaughter to Adams Farm. Beautiful day, fed the cows. I got talking to the lady there who's a grandmother from North Attleboro, and somehow the conversation about our committee and what we do came up. And her reaction was, "That's fantastic, I wish my town would do that." I think, I want to sort of return the compliment. I think the reaction of town leadership supporting whatever we have to do to protect kids in Foxborough has been phenomenal, and that's been a big push behind us and our success. So thank you for that.
Yeah, I commend all parties too, because 6, 7 years back, it was like, we were by ourselves. And now we can talk to health, safety, and 3 people, and we're all in the same thing. We're here for the kids, we're not here for anything else. It's a great thing.
Very good. Now, we do, we have a draft policy that I think can kind of help strengthen, especially your goal number 4 there, which was provide protocol for reporting incidents with suspect or alleged child sexual abuse, because I mean, everything that you guys are kind of geared towards is the training and the awareness. So have you had a chance to look at the draft?
Do you have a copy? Not everybody on committee has
Do
it.
we have copies and they
The
didn't
the
get?
draft policy?
Yeah,
Isn't it right here in board docs?
yeah, we do, but does this committee have the draft policy?
No, she did send it out last week.
Well,
Yep.
Can they share this? I've got one.
Okay.
No, it's not my handwriting on it.
Oh,
We can make extra copies if you want.
And I apologize, I thought everybody on your committee
Well,
got it.
I got back to Pam and asked if we could disseminate it, and she never got back to me, so I didn't. So, that's why we didn't all have copies.
We can, yeah, we can put this out there, that's fine.
So,
So what, are you guys gonna move on this tonight?
well, I
This is a
mean,
discussion. it was
it's just a
for tonight.
discussion, especially if you guys haven't really fully as a board seen it. I really don't think we can move. I would like
Yeah,
good dialogue and again, I was under the assumption that you all had this last week, so.
I think we disseminated it to the chairman to make sure that he would try and send it out. So I don't know why that wasn't disseminated out, but, you know, it's fine, we can make copies for everybody, that's
Yeah,
not a problem.
because I asked and she never got back to me. So I
Because
didn't
I'm
want,
surprised by that, because she's pretty good about doing that, so I don't know what
Whatever,
happened. but
something
yeah.
worked.
Yeah, okay,
we're okay.
okay, very good.
So, I mean, I would almost feel more comfortable just kind of tabling this until our next meeting.
That's fine.
Because I want good dialogue back and forth. I don't want
Sure,
them to get something. I mean, we've done it before.
absolutely,
There's no
yeah,
way
that's
we're
fine.
going to discuss or look at something
Absolutely.
that we just got, so. Does your committee, will you be able to go
You
through
meet
this?
Thursday?
Thursday night.
So,
Okay.
We could do that.
Yeah, why don't you go through it Thursday night, and then our next meeting is February 21st, 19th. We can put it on the agenda to discuss that then.
It is February vacation.
Yeah, I think it's the 19th.
Yeah,
It's the week of February vacation.
Tuesday.
It's a Tuesday, yeah.
I won't be able to do
We could even, I mean, I don't know, are we pressed to time to get this?
Well, it's a new policy, certainly we wanted to get
Yeah.
acted upon, you know.
And
it's-
I'd rather have
Yeah.
a full board's
At some point,
participation,
obviously.
both boards.
I don't think we want to let it go on forever, obviously,
No.
you know, so.
So the meeting after the 19th?
I think we're into March at that point.
Or, I mean, maybe the committee could discuss it and see how they feel and
that's
get back to
fine,
us.
we're gonna discuss it.
Yeah.
And then one or
Yeah.
two representatives.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come back.
yeah, if that works, because I don't want to drag it on, but I want to
Just
give,
want a summary of our thoughts.
Yeah,
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
2 weeks
That's
should be
all.
fine.
yeah.
They're meeting
So
Thursday
why don't we
anyway.
do that? You guys can go through it with your full group on Thursday night.
I mean, it's just in summary, what the policy is directed at is that there are situations where I think primarily we think of actions associated with individuals who've been through the criminal system, and we try and protect against those individuals. But there are a number of people who haven't gone through the criminal system, which do have a number of situations where people become victimized. And we want to try and address those situations as well, because obviously, we don't want anybody to be a victim of child sexual abuse. So that's our goal as a community, and particularly from your perspective. So we thought this would be an opportunity to try and strengthen that. We see it as sort of a weakness in the process, and it was, as we learn our way through this process, it's something new that's come up. I think we want to be sure that we've taken every step possible to try and cover those bases. And this is, I think, a good opportunity to try and address that through an additional policy. Now, it's important to note, too, that this board, your board in particular, is one of education, in trying to help with the educational piece, you're not really an enforcement agent of the town. That's through the police department, and that's why the chief is here, because he's read the policy and he's looked at, and Chief and I have actually worked on this policy together to try and develop the language that makes sense. So we certainly want your input, because we think it's important that you have input to this discussion, and that we as a community, particularly this board, the Board of Selectmen, weigh in on it so that we are providing good policy direction to you as a committee. So,
Would we out of turn to at least present the policy so we know where you come from, or does that just doesn't make sense?
Present
What
it.
your thoughts are before we go to our meeting?
Yeah, I mean, there is definitely a hole, and I think this is a good policy. It protects the children. So I think it's definitely a step that we need. It's my thought, and I'm not gonna speak for the rest of my board.
Yeah, so, we call out mandated reporters. We're all mandated reporters. Well, what does that mean? What's the process to report? Where do you go? Who do you go to? What's that process? You see something, what are you supposed to do? You hear something, what are you supposed to do? And I think that's what this policy is trying to address.
So when you take the training, it tells you what to do, where to go, and how to do it, right?
I understand, but to have a written policy in place as part of the bylaws, for lack of a better term, to have a written policy in place. Because, quite frankly, not everybody's going to take the training. Unfortunately, they should. But if somebody sees something and, if this is a policy, it's going to be available. It's going to be a public record. And it'll be a resource, be another part of that educational tool.
Plus, there's a lot of holes in the mandated report law anyways.
Right.
It doesn't cover everybody.
Right.
I think if you go back to the goals of the committee, that fourth goal that was referenced before is to provide a protocol here, and we need to have something that we can go to, and it's consistent, and when questions arise, we're not an investigative body.
Right.
We're here to be able to, for the education and to provide support for many. That protocol piece is an important piece.
Right. So again, this is an educational piece in the sense that, the more you go through this, the more you realize that there are certain gaps that need to be filled, and this is an opportunity to try and fill that gap, or a gap that was identified.
So anybody else on the board have anything else?
So did it mention something about a bylaw too, or is that just on your?
Yeah, that is a bylaw, and if you guys haven't seen this, you probably haven't seen that yet. Has that been disseminated?
Yeah, that was in the same.
Same packet, in the same packet that we gave you.
Which I tried, like I said, I tried to get her yesterday and didn't work. I took that part as being suggestions that we could, towards incorporate in our bylaw, or no?
Is it a new book? Okay, I have no idea what it is, so I'm not.
No, I'm just doing for my.
It's just unfortunate that you don't have all the information, but all the information was disseminated, so I think it's appropriate if we get all the committee members the information, you can then look at it and then respond back at the
But
next
if
meeting.
it's a bylaw change, it needs to go in front of
Town
town
meeting.
meeting, correct?
Exactly right.
So it wouldn't make it into this one because of.
Well, we could actually hold a spot for it, for consideration. But and we can say that if it's not something you want to proceed with right now, it can wait. But we can hold a spot for it in the warrant.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if we go through it, on Thursday, good chance you can still get it in
Yes.
town meeting.
We can put something in the warrant for the town meeting by February
Place-
15th.
Placeholder.
You have, between now and.
Right, but you guys won't be looking at them until the 18th, but.
No,
We could always
no,
call it
so we could actually leave a placeholder for any
Okay.
improvements to bylaws or amendments to bylaws.
Closes on the 15th.
Right.
Right, we could put the title in there,
Okay,
Yeah.
and then, work on the language.
so,
I'm pleased the town is backing us up and adding muscle.
so I guess we'll work on it Thursday night.
Yeah.
Send it
Chairman,
out to
I-
us, or do are you gonna send that to us, or is Amanda?
No, I can send it to you again.
I'll send it to us again?
No, I'll send it to you.
Okay.
I'll
I'll say, I
it's not again.
didn't get it.
We can make copies here before you
Yeah.
leave tonight.
You'll have them before you leave tonight if you want.
We
can do that.
can make more.
Oh, we'll email us, we'll have the first day. I'll make copies.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I know the chief is here. I don't, do you want anything, chief, at this point? You want
About the policy or anything?
I mean, we had talked about having a working meeting with your committee to try and discuss these things. Linda, I didn't know if by your comment you felt like the protocol was in place already and satisfactory. My opinion is it is not satisfactory. I think if we look at the Sheehan case, Mr. Sheehan, as I understand it, did not have any charges on his record. He didn't have any convictions on his record. And if people had come forward with grooming behavior complaints about him, for example, nothing I can do. If it falls short of actionable criminal conduct, what do you do with the stuff that falls short of actionable criminal conduct is the question I think that we need to ask ourselves. Because if it falls short of criminal conduct, but there's specific incidents or patterns of conduct or reasons to believe that person's a risk to children, I personally want to do everything we can to protect children from a person who falls into that category, and I think Mr. Sheehan did. So to the extent there are Sheehans that follow him, I think we want to be prepared to deal with, again, specific incidents or patterns of conduct that fall short of criminal conduct, because I can't do anything about those. And so that was part of the reason for this policy, was to try and help guide the town, both in terms of public employees and private employees, that people may come forward with complaints about them. What do we do with that? And then the bylaw was a response to some conversations that I've had, and Jim asked the question about the need for additional expertise. My answer to that question is there is expertise missing. I'm not aware of the fact that there is a requirement for anybody that has had training and education and experience dealing with child and adolescent victims of sexual abuse. I think there should be. I think your committee would be enhanced by having that kind of expertise. And we happen to have an organization like the Norfolk Advocates for Children right here in Foxborough. So I think whether you had a social worker with experience in this area or an organization like the Norfolk Agency, I think the committee would be enhanced by increasing the membership by at least those two positions. And then the last thing was in response to a recent confidential disclosure to the police, which we've investigated. The question arose as to whether or not individual members of the committee or the committee itself should have any investigative role. And I think some people want to clarify that and make it clear in the bylaw that there is no investigative role of the committee, that any member of the committee or the committee itself or members of town that have concerns like this should bring them to the police in the first instance to be investigated. So that's kind of a summary of why the policy and why some interest in minor modifications of the bylaw.
It does, that's what they do at training. That's what Dr. Slade does say in that training, like that, you make sure that they're okay, and then you tell me to leave them, and then you go to the authorities. So I guess this is gonna just, and sorry, I haven't read it, but it seems like it just is giving you more authoritative type thing, or not?
No. No, my authority is prescribed by statute, right? So if I have a criminal complaint, actionable criminal conduct, I can investigate it and prosecute.
Right.
But if you come forward in a Sheehan-like case
Yeah.
and say that this coach or this teacher appear to be involved in grooming behavior with this child,
Yeah,
what do you do with that?
I come to you.
What do I do with it?
So what is this bylaw gonna help you do with it?
This bylaw is gonna help me craft a policy with the town that says that if I can't prosecute that person,
Yeah.
I can take affirmative steps to eliminate them from their employment status in the town, or to bar them from the use of town facilities, or bar them from participation in town programs. So I can't prosecute them, but I am of the opinion that if the behavior falls short of criminal conduct, we should still act on it if possible. And right now, I don't think anybody I've talked to knows what you do with that kind of behavior, and I think we need to have the answer to that question.
Yeah, so it's just another step to protect children of the town at a town-sponsored event.
Right, and that falls to the fact that, you know, in the event that somebody says, well, did the town do everything it could to address the situation? Well, I think we're just adding that step to make sure we have.
Yep. Covers you guys.
Right. And the individuals.
Covers the children.
Yep. But that's-
Okay, so we will meet again in 2 weeks. You guys are, okay.
I'm sorry for my omission there.
All
I
right.
tried to check it out.
Okay, just keep doing what you're doing.
Move to adjourn our meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Favor?
Opposed?
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks,
All
everybody.
right, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Before we move on to the next one, I think it's a clerical thing, where this is part of the bylaw that requires them to come in front and submit a report. I think the selectmen have to vote to accept their report.
Oh, all right, yeah, so, sorry.
It's our vote, not their vote.
Okay, all right.
So move to accept the CSAAC annual report to the Board of Selectmen?
Second.
Motion made, seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none? Actually, under discussion, thank you, Jim. All those in favor? Aye. All right, Billboard Advisory Committee, discussion, proposed amendments to sign bylaw. Bill Casbarra in the house. Wow.
Yeah.
I heard he won the chili contest too a couple weeks ago, is that right?
Yeah, a ghost from the past. We can't get his recipe to leave, but I'll tell you, he's got a good one. He's got a very, very good one.
Bar retired employees from entering next year.
Good evening.
How are you?
Well,
What are we doing tonight?
before you have a warrant article for some amendments for the zoning, for the signed bylaws. I know it's running late, so if it would help, I'll just give a very brief overview of what the Billboard Advisory Committee is. Back in 2012, the Zoning Board of Appeals and my office at the time wanted to recodify the sign bylaws. They were old, they were outdated, and they needed to be brought to be modernized. They were unequitable, they were difficult to read. So the zoning board wanted to recodify the entire sign bylaw. Also at the time, there was some issues with the town over billboards. So the selectmen wanted us to look at billboards and study those and see if we could address some of the issues that were involved. So they charged, they wanted a committee form, and that's where the name Billboard Advisory Committee was formed. So that was in 2012. The Billboard Advisory Committee revised the entire billboard, the entire sign bylaws, and it was adopted at town meeting in 2014. In the process of doing that, we went to the advisory board, and there was a provision on electronic billboards, which the advisory board wasn't happy with. So they asked us to withdraw that section of the sign bylaws, and they wanted us to look, to review, to study that a little bit more. So we did at the time, we withdrew that part of it. And then it was approved, the rest of it was approved at town meeting, and it was adopted in 2014. I believe in front of you, you have some materials that the Billboard Advisory Committee sent out
to the residents of the town. It was a survey that was done. If memory serves me right at the time, we did it twice. We sent out questionnaires to the town. The first time, we didn't get a large response back. And upon review, we thought, we just didn't ask, we thought some of the questions were maybe kind of skewed or weren't broad enough. So we sent out a more comprehensive survey, very broad questions, and we got back I think it was probably 750 responses. You see the questions that were asked and the responses that we got, very comprehensive. We broke them down to quite a thorough report, which we get in front of you, studied that, and then came up with what we thought was an equitable amendment to the bylaw that addressed those responses that we got, and now we're coming forth to the town to see how they, whether they want us to move forward on this. It addresses the billboards, so Barney, with his extensive knowledge, drafted this article, and we're presenting it to you. There's any questions that you have, and we'll try our best to address how it came to this point.
So let me add a little bit to that, and I'll also correct Bill with his indulgence. So there are a number of provisions that the Billboard Advisory Committee is requesting town meeting act on, town meeting consider act on. And what I've done is package them into two separate categories. And our request would be that with your approval, we go forward to town meeting with two separate warrant articles. The first is what I've characterized as miscellaneous provisions. And these are amendments, proposed amendments to the bylaw, to the signed bylaw, that address issues that the Board of Appeals has recognized over the course of the last several years, addresses issues that the building commissioner, both former commissioner and present commissioner, have recognized that need some clarity and correction. So what these provisions do would be to add some clarity, to add some specificity, to address some oversights in the bylaw, and make what we feel is a good bylaw even better. The second, and again, we would like this to go forward as a separate warrant article. The second would be the electronic billboard issue. And what we did several years ago, as Bill indicated, was we had stripped out of the drafts of the signed bylaw those provisions that dealt with electronic billboards. Essentially, with two exceptions, the second package will put those provisions back in. The two exceptions are, I've modified the definition of billboard slightly. The substance is the same as what it was, but the wording is slightly different. The major change is item number 7 under the electronic billboard provisions, and that's to add a mitigation requirement. So the Board of Appeals would approve a digital or electronic billboard. There would be a requirement that the applicant, before that billboard can be constructed, go to the Board of Selectmen for mitigation. And it would be up to you, your discretion, your imagination, as to what that mitigation might be. That provision is new. That provision was not in the bylaw previously.
So does that, I know back when we were talking about the common sign and everything, and it wasn't zoned for there, I mean, does this change any of the downtown zoning type stuff, or are we talking just Route 1?
Billboards are only allowed on Route 1.
Route 1.
And we're not changing that at all.
Okay.
So electronic billboards, if town meeting were to approve it, would only be allowed on Route 1.
Okay.
Currently, there is one electronic billboard. That's at the corner of North Street and Route 1. The maximum number there could be would be 7, an additional 6. There could be, there are 11 static billboards right now, there could be 17.
Static billboards.
Yeah.
That's under today's provision.
Okay.
Now, personally, I don't like billboards, and I wish we didn't have any billboards in town, I wish the bylaw didn't allow it. But I think the town is better served by electronic billboards than static billboards with the mitigation provision. I think ultimately, this is an issue for town meeting to decide. And we felt it was appropriate several years ago to eliminate the provisions relative to electronic billboards because of the opposition we faced with the advisory committee. But I think it's appropriate to go back to where we were as a committee several years ago and allow town meeting to make the decision.
So, sorry, do these amendments give both the Board of Appeals and the building commissioner the clarity to make concise decisions without having to get into some gray area? And because I know you've had, the Board of Appeals had some issues, and I'm sure you've had to make some determinations based on the interpretation of what the bylaw said, what the zoning bylaw said. Does this clarify a lot of those gray areas based on experience and past decisions?
In reference to just billboards?
Billboards and signs.
Well, the miscellaneous provisions,
Yes.
some of the changes we're proposing would add that clarity.
Right.
Would add
Okay.
that clarity.
So-
That doesn't mean that we're not going to get
So
some
it's
gray
actually,
issue.
it's actually amendments to help both the building commissioner and the Board of Appeals
Yes.
make concise decisions based on the bylaw, and not have to make an arbitrary interpretation of what they think it says.
Correct.
Any other questions?
Is there a definition there on mitigation?
No.
The reason I ask is a lot of projects go forward, and boards and committees want mitigation, and developers say, okay, we'll give you mitigation. But unless it's tied to mitigate what the damage or what the impact is of that sign, mitigation that the board may see fitting for the sign, and then say, well, we're gonna give it to the fire department for a new fire truck. It's apples and oranges, and it gets thrown out of court because it's not relevant to so what mitigation would you see relative to a billboard going in?
I kept it as flexible as I possibly could in drafting that provision. So, as I said before, it would be your discretion and your imagination as the board in determining what was appropriate mitigation. So yes, it could be a fire truck if you felt that was appropriate. Now, I look at a billboard as not just impacting the landowner, the sign owner, and people who are adjacent to that property, but impacting the entire town. So whatever you feel would be appropriate, whatever you deem would be appropriate in that particular circumstance, from my perspective, would constitute mitigation, appropriate mitigation. Now, saying that, I think there would have to be some consistency between applicants. You couldn't say X amount of dollars for one applicant, but not require it for another. So there has to be some consistency, but again, I wanted to draft this with some level of flexibility and discretion.
So and I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying, but when you say consistency, when you're in front of a board of selectmen, which each year you're gonna have new members or one or two, they may be the same, but may be different, what's palatable for some may not be, so example, that's mitigation's worth $100, and then the next one, 2 years later, it's $1 million. Completely different board.
Right.
How does that get addressed in precedence and continuity?
I think it would be your written decision. I'm not shouldn't say your written decision, your written agreement with the applicant, as well as our written decision as a Board of Appeals in approving something.
I brought along some mitigation agreements from various towns in the area that I will make available to Amanda.
Okay, that'd be helpful.
She can certainly give the board for their review. It would be helpful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it
Those-
just
those have
seems
actually
like you provided clarity on one end, but you created a real big black hole in another, that kind of opens us up to, possible legal action. So, I think we should tighten that up a little bit.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the mitigation agreements have actually become much more common in the past 10 years, I would say. Because it's,
Available to
yeah.
them.
And they seem to be fairly consistent in terms, I mean, it's usually in the form of a payment or some sort of a agreement that is consistent with what the impact is.
So, go ahead, Jim.
This one, I know years back, we got into a quagmire of who owns a billboard, water department, town, private. Is there provision in there for town-owned bylaws that would be separate from that bylaw? Or is it, if the town had a piece of property, wanted to put up a billboard, would the town be under the same jurisdiction on the zoning to the selectmen? Or would they be exempt?
Would not be exempt. Again, it's, because the billboards would need to have a permit from the Outdoor Advertising Board. They're not exempt from that 1,000-foot distance requirement. Towns, municipalities are not exempt from that requirement. They would have to fall within that 1,000.
From a state regulation?
From that
Yeah.
state regulation, they are not exempt from that. So they would have to meet that distance, so they're not exempt either.
And then probably not exempt from the mitigation, but it's kind of a moot point if we're deciding our own mitigation.
Right, under the current, under the old bylaw, they were exempt as municipality, but they're not under the new bylaw. So they would need to go and get a special sign permit from the zoning board. Now, again, it's the board of selectmen that would have to issue an agreement, so that would be under your authority, what you did with that, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so this was just to let us know what you guys have been up to, right? You don't need us to, it's gotta go, AdCom will look at it again, I would assume.
Well, only if it's a warrant article, or warrant articles.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
But are you looking for, as the board, to take a position on this, or just to be informed at this point?
Or to put it on the warrant.
To put it on the warrant.
Put it on the warrant, I see.
Yeah, my understanding is that we can't put it on the warrant as a committee, it has to be the board of selectmen.
Understood.
So with that being said, do we need to vote as a board for this, or we can just add it to the list?
We can add it to the list for now, because you'll see all the articles after the 15th.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a quick question. I'm looking at the billboard committee from before. A lot of these people aren't there anymore, right? So who's on the committee, on your committee right now?
Lorraine Brew is the chairman.
Yep.
And Kevin Weinfeld, here tonight, and,
Paige Duncan.
Paige Duncan, yeah.
Nick Riccio.
Okay. 1, 2. We had someone from finance before. Anyone from finance on it?
not at this moment.
No? Okay. No reason, I'm just looking at the comparison of what was in the documents from before. People have left.
Parts.
Moving parts, yeah. He's still here. That's good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, gentlemen.
Selectmen's update. Just want to thank the craft group. We'll go back a couple of weeks to the rally, the send-off rally. Very well done, well received, 30 to 35,000 people there. Excellent job. Thanks to the JCs for the rally they had on the pond, and Paul Farmer. Lee, I think you're the good luck charm, because I was representing the board last year and we lost. So.
It might be the goat.
Not my finest hour.
But no, that was good. Paul Farmer, again, thanks for all the signs and everything. And then just a congratulations to Robert and Jonathan Kraft and the entire organization, class organization. winning 6 championships. Back up a couple of weeks after that send-off rally, Bill and I and Mike went to the fire station, their annual merit award program that they have every year. I mean, the board didn't get invited. I kind of overheard conversation about it, so I wanted to go. So I was pretty impressed with the portion of what they did. I mean, these are our regularly, everyday firefighters just doing their job, and, you know, some of these awards are them going above and beyond outside of their actual role as a town. So I want to read through them. So the first one was a letter of merit awarded to Captain Donald Triani Jr. for your unselfish effort to help search for a child with disability who had walked away from his home. On September 8th, 2018, due to your actions as a potential tragedy was averted, and your actions made a positive impact on the child and his family. That was, they went into more depth of the actual story. It was great. It was a neighborhood kid that he knew. He was autistic. He knew where he could be drawn to water, and he heard it on his scanner. He was off duty and instantly went to the pond, and he got the kid. He cut him off. The next one is awarded to firefighter Jonathan Villa for your life-saving actions on September 27th, 2018 at a golf outing where the life of a gentleman in cardiac arrest had a positive outcome due to your actions that day in working in a team environment. That was another, this took place like, what did they say, down in Acushnet or something?
Mhm.
A whole bunch
That's right.
of people out, somebody 2 or 3 fairways away just dropped, and he dropped everything, ran over, you know, saved the guy's life. This letter of commendation awarded to firefighter Colin Sweeney for your life-saving actions on December 24th, 2017, where the life of an 82-year-old man in cardiac arrest had a positive outcome due to your actions that day in working in a team environment. Another letter of commendation awarded to firefighter Jason Galante for your life-saving actions on December 24th, 2017, where the life of an 82-year-old man in cardiac arrest had a positive outcome due to your actions that day in working in a team environment. And then the same incident for a letter of commendation for firefighter Parker Merritt. So they do this every single year. They typically do a mass at St. Mary's, and then they go back to the fire station and give us awards. So you make sure that Mike knows next year to invite the board.
So I think there was a little bit of a, it fell through the cracks a little bit, because normally he sends the invitation, Chief Hatfield actually sent the invitation out to you all directly.
Okay.
And I wasn't aware that he didn't do that, so obviously you didn't get that invitation, but, and it was obviously in conflict with the event going on that morning as well.
Yeah.
So fortunately, it timed out, so we were able to get there at the very, very last minute. But that was a great event, and it's always a great event when they do that. And unfortunately, we couldn't go to the Mass this year, but it was great to see a lot of people did go to the Mass as well, so it was great to see that.
Yeah, yeah. But it was, I mean, definitely, you know, them going above and beyond, so.
Right.
Anybody else on the board have any selectmen stuff? Again, Leah, thanks for covering, and Jim, thanks for being a go-day here.
That was a secret. Thanks.
Not anymore.
No skills in that costume. Still impressed.
All right.
I guess just one question, budget stuff. Are we going to get budgets back on for discussion?
We could probably put it on our next meeting.
Sure.
Get some stuff going with the advisory committee.
All right, we're meeting with them tomorrow night, and for next 4 Wednesdays, I believe. 3 or 4 Wednesdays, we're meeting with them, so.
Bill, I had asked for some revenue projections. You remember to send those out?
Yeah.
We had talked a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. Yeah, we'll take a look at that, all right?
I think my intent is, I mean, we got the presentation, but there was very little discussion other than listening to it. I think it probably warrants some good discussion on the budget.
Okay. All right.
All right.
So,
Town manager update.
all right, so just, again, just want to say congratulations to the Kraft Group and to the entire organization for winning their 6th title. Obviously, we're very, very excited about that. We had some really good local coverage here in Foxborough, talking about the community itself, and then also from both the New York Times as well as the NBC 10 did a nice spot for the town as well, talking about the positive impact of what it's like to be in Titletown, which is Foxborough, Massachusetts. So it's great coverage for us, but also just congratulations to them for running something that's historic and history in the making, obviously, something we'll probably never ever see in another lifetime. So congratulations on that. Just wanted to say too that we've gotten the final notification that the final report has been, a permanent solution statement has been issued by Snyder Electric with respect to the Ponce Reservoir, and that it has been submitted to the state now, so now we're waiting to see what kind of actions will be taken by the state. And I got a letter that was received on January 31st, or actually on February 4th, rather. The purpose of this letter is to inform you that on behalf of Snyder Electric, Woodard and Curran has submitted the final permanent solution statement report in response to public comments for the Ponce Reservoir disposal site. This public notification is being provided in accordance with the public involvement plan for RTN 411387 and pursuant to Massachusetts contingency plan, et cetera, et cetera. The above report is available for download, and we can make it available to anybody who wants to see it. There's a long address for that, so I won't read it out. Or review with the Mass DEP Southeastern Region Office in Lakeville. And that's in response to the fact that we've spent a lot of time working on that issue, and they finally have issued their statement. So now it's up to DEP to issue their final action on what they believe to be the final statement. So we'll wait to see what happens, but I just want to make sure you were fully aware of that. And then, as I pointed out, we are in the process of meeting with the AdCom. We met with our AdCom representatives today about the budget. The budget process is going along pretty much as planned. We've got some more information that we're providing to them. Obviously, we sort of got caught between the wickets between some of the way we've done it in the past and the way we're doing it now. So we've done the best we can. We're going to continue to provide more information as it becomes available, and we'll certainly keep people posted on the information they need. So so far so good though, and we're moving along quite efficiently as we possibly can. And then the next stage, we'll be looking at capital improvement programs. That will be, the hearing on that is on March 9th. And so we'll be preparing those documents over the next few weeks and getting those in the hands of the CIP as well. And that hearing will be held on a Saturday, the 9th, and it's beginning at 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30 in the morning. And then we run till about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Hearings will be held here in this chamber, and will be televised as we did last year. We'll continue to keep the community informed about what we're doing with that. So we'll do the best we can, and we'll see what happens, what comes out of that.
Through the chair. One quick question for you, Bill. I don't know if I was the only one or if the whole board got that notice that there was another CSX fire a couple of weeks ago. I guess 2 questions. What came of that, and where is our injunction, is that the right word, that we had sent off to?
So we posted a notice. We actually notified the CSX. They have engaged in conversations with us, and we've met twice now, and they are trying to address the questions and concerns that we have. We've had very few complaints about the crossing and the backup on the tracks since that's happened, and a lot of the construction piece has actually stopped for the winter, so we've not experienced a lot of impacts. The train fire was of great concern to us, obviously, because that's something that they said they were going to address, and they haven't. That's something I'm going to follow up with the fire chief tomorrow morning to find out what action will come out of that. Mostly the response came from Mansfield, not from Foxborough, but just the same, we did respond. The last understanding I had of that is that if we're going to continue to respond to those fires, we're going to start billing for our time. So I'll find out what the status of that is at tomorrow morning's meeting.
Can I just ask a question? So you'd mentioned there's 2 meetings that happened. I actually had reached out to Dawn tomorrow to see how things were going, because we hadn't really heard much, and then the fire just happened to happen the next morning, like I
Yeah,
jinxed it.
exactly, yeah.
But I had heard that there was 2 meetings, but CSX was a no-show, so the neighborhood was here, and you guys were here, but no one, I think it was January 22nd, and I forget the other date off the top of my head right now. So have we had any actual meetings with them, or
No,
were there
no,
scheduled meetings that?
We had a telephone conference the first time, that we got everybody on the phone, and CSX was here at the last meeting. They were actually represented.
Town Hall?
They were here at Town Hall. We didn't have, and we had 2 representatives from CSX. It was Mass DOT that wasn't able to be here in person at the last meeting. So we need to, so we're working back through state representative and state senator to try and make that happen for the next meeting. Both the senator and the representative were present at this meeting here.
Okay. So was the neighborhood invited to that meeting? 'Cause
Yes, well,
they-
the 2 representatives that we've been including in that were Dawn and Todd Hassett.
Okay.
So, was your question about filing with the court?
And that was part 2.
Yeah.
Where that.
So the way it was left was that we would notify, we put them on notice, and as soon as we put them on notice, they came to the table to start talking about how they would help resolve it. And since that's happened, a lot of the issues have resolved themselves. So there's not a lot we can do at this time. We can't, in other words, we can't stop them from operating, but the big concern was whether they would continue to block the crossings, and they haven't been doing that, so.
See, I heard otherwise, just, I don't know what, I don't know, but Mr. Jamaro, although he's down with a knee injury, so he can't get out there as much, but I'm hearing they're still blocking at the crossings, that this second line is now resulting in parked trains behind their houses.
Yeah.
And then, just so happened, the next day, there was another train fire, so.
So let me address both those things. So they still cross the road, and they still block it, but for a very limited period of time within the law.
Okay, yeah.
All right, so that's factual.
So improvement.
So that's improved. Before they were blocking the crossings for like 40 to 45 minutes, which is completely unacceptable.
And multiple crossings.
And multiple crossings. So now they're not doing that. So that's an improvement. As far as the train fire, that's something we have to follow up on, and we will follow up on that, because that's something that they said they were going to address, and they haven't done that. So number of things could have happened, we don't know, but we need further information. That was on my list of things to deal with tomorrow morning.
Did they finish the construction, or did you say they stopped for the winter?
They stopped construction for the winter season, but they haven't completely finished the construction. So
They gotta be close to finish.
they're getting close, they are getting close, because
Isn't it with the freezing, though? I think construction stopped because of the weather.
That's right.
They can't.
Yeah, they typically don't do construction up until April 1st. There's a period of time from January until April that they.
But I know they were saying they're so close, they're gonna keep pushing.
They were trying to get as much done as they could, I know that. And the big ask from CSX was whether or not they could actually get agreement with Mass DOT to actually run their trains, and continue to run their trains once during the day, which would avoid a lot of the trains running at night, which were the ones that were so disruptive. So they've been trying to work that agreement out with Mass DOT. So they're trying to be responsive. I have to give them credit where credit is due. The one thing that's disappointing is the fact that, and it's sort of like 6 of one, half a dozen the other. The other track where they do store the trains, that's one of those things where you're damned if you do, damned if you don't, because what they do by leaving those trains there, it actually limits the amount of time that they have to block the intersection, because they leave them in an area that they can run across, grab them, and then take off.
But weren't we promised there wouldn't be any, that track wouldn't result in additional trains parking there?
That's what they may have promised them, the neighborhood, at that time. They said that they wouldn't try and do that if they could help it. So we keep asking them to see if they can come up with a different plan, but again, if they push them further down, it means that the length of the train has to go further back into that area, which causes the area to be blocked longer. It's a catch-22 scenario.
I mean, one thing, I don't know how you guys feel, but I think if like a resident calls for an ambulance in their build, I think that we should hold hard. I know that Mansfield did a lot of the response to the last fire, from what I understand, but I'm of the opinion that I think we really need to move forward on billing, the resources that are coming out of this community
I'm inclined to agree with
to
that.
put those fires out.
Inclined to agree, because it's not something that we should be responding to. It's been 4 fires in the past year. Probably within a 6-month period of time.
And that was that record cold day, like that was,
Right.
that was a tough,
It's a tough fire to put out.
yeah.
So it's, it's something that we clearly don't find acceptable, and, but I do want to find out what our ability to do to address that is. And I'll know better by tomorrow. All right?
Thank you.
Anything else, Bill? Mike?
So first, congratulations, Patriots and Patriots fans. My late brother, who lived his last 33 years out of this town, always introduced himself as, "I am Chris from Foxborough, home of the New England Patriots." So for all New England Patriots fans out there, congratulations. I just have one thing to report on the HR front, and that is that we have advertised for our assistant treasurer collector, and we expect to start reviewing those applications on the 11th. And so we have, up till this afternoon, we'd received 55 applications, and Sarah and myself have started reviewing those. So that's where we are on that critical position in the finance department. That's all I have.
Did you say 11th, so up till February 11th?
February 11th, we're going to start reviewing them, but we've advertised it in a way that we're going to keep the advertisement open.
Okay.
But we're going to start reviewing them until the position is filled. We want to be able to, we had to advertise it for 10 days, and so we want to, if we come across that, that best qualified person, then we want to be ready to hire at that point. And we're going to follow our typical, at least three-stage interview process: phone interviews, then face-to-face, and then interview with the town manager. And Selectman Gibson will be involved in the face-to-face interviews.
Right.
Any update on the fire department? I mean, the firehouse, RFP?
Oh, yeah.
I think they're supposed to get responses, I think, this week, if I'm not mistaken. Or was it 30 days, right? Was it
I think Paige said it was the 15th.
15th? Yeah, the 15th.
There's like this one.
Keeping our fingers crossed.
Maybe third or fourth, fifth time's a charm.
That's what we hope.
All right, motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion made second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.